Hello, folks. It's Tuesday again, a sunny but windy March 18th, 2025. As usual, my name is Tudor Vladov, and I'm back with the 48th episode of Keeping It Realistic. During today's show, which as always is done in collaboration with Chaos, we'll take a look at the latest news, announcements, and tutorials. Check out 5 thematical and inspiring works of yours from the last 2 weeks from the group, and by the end of the show, we'll briefly discuss a topic and a project of mine. Please remember, we do all of this as a live session so that you can actively participate in the discussions and interact with each other. So don't hesitate to say hi, ask questions, voice your opinion, share your thoughts, and just generally be active. And with this out of the way, welcome everyone. I'm very happy that we get to hang out together again. I see you already saying hi. Michael is here, Simon, Mahmoud. Hello, guys. It's great to have you here. How are you all doing? How's your March going? I hope you're healthy and I hope everything, or if not everything, most things go the way you want them to. Now, regarding today's show, because this is going to be one loaded week in the group, we have lots of shows incoming. So I'll try to keep the show a bit on the shorter side. Let's see how it goes. So, without any further ado, what we'll do next is we will take a look at our cover image, the cover image of today's show. You know, this is always what we do in the beginning of the show. We take a moment to appreciate the triptych signing today's episode. The works for the current triptych were contributed by Michael, Saifeddine, and Kanchana. Congrats to all three artists. Um, the works may look different at first sight, but they actually have a lot in common. Not only are they really beautiful to look at and skillfully pulled off, they are also, all of them are very outdoor oriented, which I find really lovely because currently in the northern hemisphere we have springtime, nature is starting to wake up, people go outside more, spend more time on the outside. And I really love this, and I think this triptych actually sets the tone and mood for the whole show because today we'll only be taking a look at exterior or outdoor projects and won't be doing any interiors. In the past, we've had works or shows that were entirely about interiors, or most of the shows, of course, have both interiors and exteriors. But today, for the first time, we won't be having any interiors and we'll be taking a look only at exterior stuff. And I'm very, very happy about this. Now let's continue with the second image we get to enjoy in the beginning of the show, and this is our group's new cover image. I'll make it larger for everyone to see. I just changed it 5 minutes ago. It's Wong's scene called Bushido Code, which is the winner of the last voting, and it's inspired by Wong's favorite video game, For Honor, and his favorite series, Shogun. Both pretty great. At least I've heard so. I know Shogun, but I haven't played For Honor, even though I've had this game in my Steam library for years now. Never tried it out because it's a multiplayer one. I prefer single player experiences. But back to the work, it's definitely one with a beautiful mood and very, very high authenticity. The first moment you lay your eyes on this work, you know it's about Japan. It's absolutely authentic. It's also very realistic, very nicely composed, beautiful color palette, and just very, very authentic and beautiful to look at. And I think it makes for a wonderful cover image. I hope you see it the same way as I do. And of course, congrats to Wong for winning the voting and for having his work grace the cover of our lovely community. The next 5 images that you get to vote for the next 2 weeks, I'll present to you as always in the end of the show. Now let's jump right into the news and see how things are. I'll just quickly check your comments and see if you guys are happy. Wang is here, Saifeddine is here. This is really great, guys. I'm happy to have you here. Mahmoud says, great cover image. I absolutely agree. And what I really love about changing the cover images every 2 weeks is that the group always looks in a different way. And even if you see it as a small, side link in your Facebook, you'll see a different image every 2 weeks, which makes the group feel more lively, which is great, of course. So let's check out the latest interesting news. So first, as always, we start with the Chaos event calendar. We've already talked about all the dates visible here. If you're in the USA, keep an eye on Chaos because they're pretty much on tour in San Francisco, in Boston, in Nashville. And if you're in Europe, this week, this Thursday, March 20th, there will be a Chaos meetup in Berlin, Chaos meetup 2025 Spring Edition. I really wanted to attend this one. I was there 1 year ago and it was amazing. As you know, I've shown you images, photos, and videos from this event and from my whole trip there and back. And I wanted to really attend because once again there is going to be a great lineup of people. And what I cherish the most about those events is actually that at one moment you see the speaker in front of the audience, the next moment you have a private chat with them in the lounge area where there are also drinks and food, and all of this is absolutely free of charge. And I think this is absolutely amazing. So if you're not only in Germany but also in maybe one of the surrounding countries, definitely consider it. I know last time as I traveled there, it took around 7 hours for me to get there with the train, even though the train system is pretty advanced in Germany and I live in the center of the country. And I think the Common Point guys, Artur and Bartosz, they were quicker there compared to me. I think they took only 3 or 4 hours coming from Poland. So yeah, if you can consider it, go there. You definitely enjoy it, I guarantee. If not, maybe we get to meet each other there next time because there is going to be another meetup, if everything goes right, in the autumn edition, which usually happens in September. So I plan to definitely attend this one, and I hope nothing will stand in the way of this plan. And maybe I get to meet some of you there. It would be amazing. Okay, let's continue. This is when it comes to on-site, but there are of course many off-site or online events as well. And as I told you, this week is pretty packed in the group. Tomorrow we have the Chaos Campus live show, episode number 33, with Nikos and Ioana Ivanova, who's a great 3D and motion graphics artist, and also a very, very cool person. I got to know her 2 years ago because she's also a mentor at CG Spectrum, as I am, and she's wonderful. I definitely won't be missing this one, and I suggest you won't be missing it too. So yeah, this is what happens tomorrow. It happens on Zoom, as you know, not directly in the group. You can register with a link up here. And then on Thursday, we have the next episode of the RVIS Masterclass, once again with Nikos. They are RVIS Masterclasses with creative lighting and chaos. And this time the topic is going to be mastering interior lighting. So a very, very essential one. Don't miss it. As you know, there is no recording of those masterclasses. You're either there and watch it, or you miss it, and you can hope that once again next year there will be another round of lessons by Chaos and creative lighting. But don't count on this. Better just be there and watch it live if you can, because not only will be watching something very, very valuable, but also you get the chance to ask questions about it and have Nikos answer them. And even if you watched last year, as I did and many of us did, I suggest attend once again. First of all, because, repetition, there is nothing wrong with repeating knowledge and remembering what Nikos was talking about. And the second thing is, the content won't be entirely the same. So there is always something new that Nikos mentions in his lessons. So even if you watched last year, even if you watch this year once again, there is going to be something new for you to learn. So definitely I'll be there. I hope to see you there as well. Let me check the chat. I see Amit has joined us. Finally, man, was waiting for you to join. He says, hi Theo, hi guys. I have joined with a glitch net connection as I'm traveling. Oh, but I really appreciate it, Amit. Last time you were on a holiday and you even had some trouble with your wife because of joining the show, and now you are joining once again while traveling. You're really, really dedicated, and I absolutely love this. And this is why we actually all love you in this community so much. Mariana is here. Great. This is so great to have you here, Mariana. You're also so active in recent times especially, and I love seeing your works or reading your questions or your opinions and feedbacks. Please do more of it, especially your feedbacks are always on point, so keep doing those. And also gladly let us know. You're now Max and Corona user, if I'm not mistaken. You used to be a Rhino user, as I was years ago. So tell us what you think about this new combination. How do you like it? And how does it feel different compared to Rhino and Virey? Stefan, oh, Stefan, so nice to see you. You promised to be here today, and here you are. Awesome to see you. I hope everything is going great, and we'll talk after the show. Thanks for joining, and let's continue with the next topic. So we talked about some online events. Let me show you also one which may be interesting, at least to those of you who are into AI. So this week on Monday, the NVIDIA GTC conference started, and it will go until Friday. And as it says here, what's next in AI starts here. This is pretty much accurate because all the big announcements about AI innovations, all the latest trends are discussed there. All the impressive achievements in the AI field are also demonstrated there. So if you're into AI, definitely keep an eye on this and the news coming out of it. And because, like it or not, AI is here to stay. And this is not only my opinion. This was also confirmed by a recent global survey on 3D visualization that we'll take a look at now. It's the CG Architect Rendering Engine Survey 2025. And this was kindly initiated by CG Architect Ricardo Eloy and shared in the group by our dear Amit. So let's maybe take a look at some of the results of it together, shall we? So it's a really nice read. I really recommend you go through all of this. It's nicely put out there. It's also nicely summarized. We'll scroll to the 8th page where there are some, let's say, summaries in a nutshell, and go through them one by one. So first thing is Virey and 3ds Max continue being industry standards due to their reliability and extensive feature set. It's funny to read the words reliability and 3ds Max in one and the same sentence, but apart from that, I fully agree. I think that these two still are the industry standard. However, we'll take a look at the chart later and see that I would even add Corona as well. Let's continue with the second topic, rising interest in real-time rendering. Unreal Engine, Twinmotion, Lumion, and Chaos Vantage reflect a clear industry trend towards real-time rendering solutions driven by speed in iteration and client interactions. Well, it says it all, and I totally agree with this. Then we have significant AI adoption. Although there is uncertainty about AI being the best solution for photorealism, its practical usage, especially Photoshop integrated AI tools, is already widespread. We also made a survey in the group on this, and it turned out that most of you are actually already using AI in their workflows. Desktop and GPU dominance, stability, performance, and cost effectiveness continue making desktop-based GPU rendering the main choice for visualization artists. It only makes sense, obviously. And then finally, moderate adoption of cloud rendering. Despite clear advantages in scalability, adoption of cloud rendering remains moderate, possibly due to cost, complexity, or data security concerns. I think it's probably mostly the cost and the complexity, because even though the providers of such cloud rendering solutions do their best to integrate them in our 3D software, when you try to send something over, a task over to cloud rendering, I always had some type of issues, like materials that cannot be exported, or maybe some third-party plugins that are not supported and stuff like this. And I think that just also a lot of images are still images, and still images mostly can be rendered on the local desktop PC or the local small farm. So I guess it's just that cloud rendering is probably mostly used for animations, and animations aren't done as much as still images. This is just how I interpret it. But yeah, I'll scroll down, but check the comments as well. Amit says, I am at Dwarka, Gujarat. I don't know how to pronounce this. If anyone knows this place, Well, sounds really cool. We'll Google it afterwards. Mariana says, yes, I happily passed the 3ds Max with Corona in last month. And how do you feel? How do you like it? Probably you hate Max for now, at least I did, after switching from the very precise, almost 3D CAD-like Rhino to the eyeballing Max. I hated it in the beginning, and I still hate parts of it, but I got used to it, honestly. Danushka says, hi guys, hey Theo, hey Danushka. Simon says, D5 has a huge potential with the real-time path tracing in their latest update. Yeah, I know this is why most people are eagerly experimenting with it right now. I also saw Danushka experimenting and others, and I fully understand. I mean, honestly, looking at the results, I don't see the correlation between investing so much more render time for the path tracing compared to the ray tracing. I think ray tracing still is the better option, just because path tracing takes way too long to render for not enough quality enhancement, in my opinion. But you guys can gladly share in the group how you feel about this. Simon says, this looks cool. You can have a ProTask to model this famous building there. Yeah, definitely. Okay, let me scroll down to the charts because we need to move on. So first chart here, which 3D renderers do you use for final production, final rendering? You see with, maybe you don't see it because it's quite small, but yeah, with 31%, we have V-Ray at the top, and then closely followed by Corona with 26.8%. So it's around 5% difference. And then pretty far behind, we have Unreal Engine coming next with 9%. So yeah, I would say, looking at this chart, I would definitely count Corona to one of the industry standards. Maybe it's not exactly as high as V-Ray, but it is almost there. And yeah, Corona is lovely as well. Now, the first question was about visualization in general. The second one here, which 3D renderers do you use for architectural visualization, focuses more on ArcViz. And here, the difference in percentages between V-Ray and Corona is even smaller. It's barely 3%, followed by Unreal. Once again, Vantage, Lumion, Twinmotion, D5, and Enscape. So once again, I would say Corona is an industry standard, and Chaos products seem to be pretty much rocking. Which 3D renderers do you use for pre-production or pre-visualization? Once again, we have V-Ray, Corona, Unreal, Twinmotion, and Chaos Vantage. I think these numbers will be changing more in time with more and more GPU rendering. I think pre-production and pre-visualization will lean more towards GPU rendering. I personally, I'm a dedicated Corona user, but since I have the live link to Vantage, I do my pre-production and pre-visualization with Vantage now. Which 3D renderers are you experimenting with? This is what we just talked about. Unreal Engine, obviously there is so much stuff out there, so much pre-made stuff for Unreal presets and packages of ready-made buildings and stuff, and of course also presets for wind and water and whatnot. So yeah, it makes sense, and followed by D5 and Twinmotion makes a lot of sense. Which 3D applications do you use for real-time rendering? And from which 3D applications do you use real-time rendering? It's mostly 3ds Max, industry standard, like it or not, followed by SketchUp. That was a bit of a surprise, but actually, why not? SketchUp has developed a lot since I stopped using it, and it's actually a full-scale 3D software by now. Then we have Unreal, Chaos Vantage, Autodesk Revit, and Blender. I don't see enough Rhino here, and that's actually pretty sad. Let me check the chat for a second. Danushka says, yeah, as far as D5 goes, middle settings for path tracer is the way to go. There is hardly a difference between the highest and the mid-level settings. Yeah, it's the render times. Let's continue. What type of computer do you use for local photoreal production rendering? As you see, the majority of people, more than 60%, use desktops. And of course, this makes a lot of sense. You just get more bang for your buck. If you there are very good mobile workstations in the meantime, even with 4090 RTX cards inside. But if you invested the money for those mobile workstations in a desktop PC, you'll still get more and a better performance for your work, because there is always this 10 to 20% difference in power when it comes to comparing a desktop GPU and a mobile and the same version of a mobile GPU. It's just the way it is. And also a desktop computer is very flexible. You can just update your hardware by just swapping a few components and not replacing everything. Like in the end of 2023, I decided to swap my old graphics card for 4090, and all I needed to do is to swap the power supply unit and the graphics card, and that was it. The rest of the system remains as it was, and it was something which I did within a few hours, and this is of course very flexible and really nice to have. What type of processor do you use for local, photoreal, or production rendering? You see it's almost equalized here, only CPUs, mostly GPUs, of course, with the powerful GPUs and software like Vantage nowadays, or D5 and Twinmotion. It makes sense to go for GPU, but of course there is always a price to pay. If you render with CPU, it takes longer, but the final result is more realistic, or you render with GPU, then it's very quick, but the final result is kind of photorealistic-ish, at least in my experience. Do you have your own render farm? Let this be the last question we take a look at. This is a bit of a tricky question. I really like the answer, I don't know. It's like some people are probably surprised. They go into the office and are surprised to see if they have a render farm or not. But apart from this, what do you define as a render farm? Because in my particular case, I have my main workstation and I have a secondary workstation, both of them being quite beefy. And I use them together for distributed rendering. To me, this is my own small local render farm, so I answered yes. But it's a bit tricky to define what a render farm is. But of course, they're expensive, and at some point, it just makes more sense to go for cloud rendering instead of putting all the effort and buying stuff and so on. So yeah, definitely take a look at this, because there are some really interesting charts and summaries here. I gotta say, I'm a bit disappointed in the amount of people who participated, because in the end it's barely 700 people, and alone in our group we have 10 times more, and worldwide there's hundreds or thousands of 3D artists. So I think we need to do better in this regard, participate more, because the more people participate, the more the results will be representative, or the more representative the final results will be. But in the end of the day, it's still a global survey, so I think that the results are representative enough as they are. So definitely check it out to know what to expect. If you're maybe wondering, is the software I'm using a standard or not? How likely it is that the studio that I apply for uses it or not? You can get a bit of an idea about this from this very nice summary of the survey. Now let's move on. Okay, I see that the chat is very active today. Mario has joined us. Hello, Mario. I think at that point you were sleeping, wasn't it like this? Amir says Vantage starts to take a big part. Yeah, Vantage will be growing. Vantage is fairly young, especially compared to something like Unreal, but it develops rapidly, and more and more people, more and more artists that I know that were, let's say, using only Corona or only V-Ray now prefer to do their work with Vantage, at least to a certain point. Danushka says, yeah, lately there is this trend of soldering everything to the motherboard with laptops, which sucks. Yeah, that's absolutely right. Mariana says, I haven't expected it, but I like modeling with 3ds Max. Once I entered the 3ds Max brain without wanting to use the same instruments I used to use with Rhino, I started to love it. And this only took a month. Are you human? What's with you? Okay, this is cool. I'm very happy for you, because for me it took years to get used to it, because I like accuracy, and the eyeballing isn't my type of thing. But in the end of the day, if you're happy, then it's great. Let's continue with something very interesting. Very fresh announcement from yesterday. We have a new show coming to the group. It's the Portfolio Mondays with Pedro Moreira, or Pedro Moreira, that we call him now, from Argus Republic, ex-Inbetweeners. And this new show will be focusing on you, and more specifically your portfolios. you get a page where you can upload your portfolios, and during the show they will get reviewed. The show will happen once a month on every last Monday of the month, and every show will have a new guest. And those guests will be industry professionals, mostly the ones in charge of actually hiring people. It will happen per Facebook Live, so you can ask questions during the show, and of course there will be immediately a recording right after it. And I think that this is an amazing opportunity for two reasons. First, of course, you get your portfolios reviewed, but also you get to connect with industry-leading creatives and companies. You get exposure. They hear about you. They see your works. Maybe some of them will decide to reach out to you directly. So this is really, really great. Don't miss this opportunity. And please start preparing your portfolios. Make them presentable. And let's see how it goes. The first episode is going to be on March 31st. Okay. On March 31st, so this is the last Monday of this month. Really looking forward for this one. Now, enough news for today. Let's continue with the learning part. As usual, I always show you the Chaos Academy at the beginning. If you want to learn a bit more about V-Ray and Skateboard Vantage, this is the place to start. If you ask yourself, where is Corona? Well, actually, Corona has its own academy. It's the Corona Academy. It was the first project like this. It was started way before the Chaos Academy, which is fairly new. It started in December last year, if I'm not mistaken, whereas the Corona Academy has been around for a few years already, and this is where you can learn Corona. But Theo, I hear you say, where is Envision? Well, Envision is fairly new, and it's still in an early beta, so there aren't any courses on it yet. But Mike was cool enough on his latest episode of the Viz Academy Tips and Tricks show to take a closer look at Envision. It was last week. There is a recording in the group. It's 1 hour and 12 minutes long. And yeah, I personally hadn't tried out Envision myself, so I was really curious to see how it works. And I gotta say, it looks really promising, especially the integration of anima people. It's absolutely easy to do. Animating objects, cars, vehicles, stuff like this is also incredibly easy to do. It looks like you need a strong GPU though, because Mike had some issues with the program freezing and shutting down. As far as I know, he has a 2060 or 2090 RTX card, which is already pretty strong, but streaming and doing Envision on the side didn't work out that well, at least not with a big scene. Anyway, it was a great show. If you've missed it, go check it out and see if Envision is something that might be useful to you. I think that I'll be waiting for maybe 1 or 2 later iterations of the beta version, maybe 0.5 or something like this, and then I will also try it out. Most probably I already have a scene where I would need a lot of people walking around, cars driving around, and yeah, this would be a great scene to test out Envision with. Okay, now let's move on to some tutorials. I'll just close this one. First one is a tutorial by Chaos themselves that you can find on Chaos TV, showing us how to easily create 360 panoramic tours with V-Ray and the Chaos Cloud. It's a cakewalk. Honestly, the way they've done it now, it's just so easy. And I gotta say, in the last years, we've worked on a big project with, I think, 18 360 panoramas in a villa for a lamp designer. And what we see here is just making the creation of 3D tools or 3D tours so easy and so pleasant. So definitely try it out, and maybe this could be something that you can add to your portfolio or to your list of services, creating 360 walkthroughs. Some clients really love services like this, so check it out, try it out, consider it, and if you like it, add it to your list of services. And next we have a tutorial by Michael. His channel is called MixOCG or MixOCG, whatever, where he's showing us how he created his amazing scene that he later also shared in the Chaos Campus community. There is no talk here, but it's a full scene tutorial from beginning to end. It's in 2 parts altogether, 6 hours long, covering different topics from modeling, texturing, lighting, volumetrics, landscaping, terrain creation even, and also a lot of software. It's not only 3ds Max and Corona, it's also Tyflow and Forest Pack. And you should definitely invest the time to watch it, because there are some great techniques shown here, like the creation of transition between the road and the surrounding nature with the help of decals. Wonderful solution, really smart. Watch it. I know it's almost a whole work day, but there is so much knowledge packed here, and I definitely recommend you watch this one, because you learn a lot and this will save you a lot of questions in future. And yeah, given that we're already talking about his work, I think it would be a good idea to just continue with Michael's work and see how he describes it. So he writes, "Hey folks, this is my first post here, Road to the Peak full CGI 3D artwork. There is a free full tutorial, I just showed it to you." Oh, sorry, I gotta go back here and stop this because we have some background sounds. Okay, back to Michael's work. He continues, "A lone adventurer's journey unfolds on a winding mountain road surrounded by towering peaks bathed in golden light. The rugged off-road Porsche loaded with gear tells a story of exploration, freedom, and the call of the unknown. Mist rises from the valley, adding an air of mystery, while the dramatic sky hints at nature's raw beauty and unpredictability. It's done with the help of 3ds Max, Corona, i2 tools, Tyflow, and Quixel. Enjoy." We definitely did, because this is absolutely amazing. I fully agree with this wonderful description. Let's take a closer look, shall we? So first of all, we have the sky and the lighting that create a very thrilling atmosphere. On the one side, we have the warm, soft sunlight, producing this wonderful positive mood that we see here. But on the other, we have the incoming dark clouds forecasting rain or storm. And you've probably been in a situation like this yourself. You're maybe in the city, you're trying to get home after work, and then you see the sky and you see some sunlight, but you also see dark clouds, and you're wondering, is it gonna rain or is the sun gonna shine? And you obviously, in most cases, hope for the sun to win out this battle and to shine so that you can get home safe and dry. Sometimes the sun wins, other times it's the rain, but it's this unpredictability of raw nature that Michael describes in his description that makes for a very thrilling atmosphere and mood. Next, we have the volumetrics that add another storytelling layer here. Because of the fog, everything looks pretty mysterious, but also it can be seen as a metaphor, like for exploring the unknown, because you don't see it right. You have to go there first in order to be able to know what's hiding in the fog. Also, fog and aerial perspective are a great way to establish distinguishable fore and background and create focus and depth. And depth, of course, is very important, because this image is about a journey, about an adventure. So it's important to see where this adventure takes place. And here we see a lot of it, and it's beautiful. Of course, modeling, texturing, color scheme are all great as well. It's just wonderful. And the composition too, beautifully balanced, clear foreground, clear background, clear focus, wonderful framing. It's just perfect. The only thing I would say in terms of improvement is the ending of the river. Down here it looks kind of weird, kind of unnatural. It has too many rocks and a weird form. But this is something that can easily be fixed in post. But apart from this is one marvelous work with wonderful details. And what I like even more about it is that you decided to make a full tutorial on how to create this work from scratch. You could have just enjoyed your likes and attention, positive attention, but you decided to share your knowledge with the others, and I fully appreciate this. I love this, and you've chosen to join the right community for this, because this is exactly what we do in this community. We help each other, we support each other, we uplift each other. We don't just, when somebody manages to do something and it's great, people ask how they did it and they gladly show it, because once again, we help each other. We're a community, and you definitely fit right into this community. If you want, tell us more, make more tutorials, and with your knowledge and wonderful skill set, you are more than welcome to help others, provide constructive feedback, provide your opinions, and help out your fellow artists, because you have a lot to give, obviously. So thanks for sharing this marvelous work, and we'll move on to the next one. I'll just check the comments, because I see Simon praising it, saying, amazing work, Michael. Congrats, and appreciate that you also use old painters for reference. Yeah, that's very visible, that you know your way around art as well, and paintings, and it's actually essential for an artist to know this. This is why from time to time I urge you to go read some theory, maybe watch some documentations, go to a gallery. Don't only sit in front of the monitor and do 3D, because this way you turn more into an AI or a machine, but less into an artist. Michael says, thanks, Theo. Yeah, tutorials for the community, and it's very, very appreciated. Okay, let's continue with the second work. It's a swing at the end of the world by Mohsen. He writes, I saw an image of a tourist area in Ecuador and really enjoyed it. I tried to model and render that image. I hope you like it. And what a cool backstory, actually. It's totally relatable for a true artist, in my opinion. I remember once we were moving rooms in our flat. We used to live in a very small apartment and already had 2 kids, and I had nowhere to play, but I still had a separate room for my studio. So I decided to give it up for them to have a proper kids room, and just take put all my tables and PCs on a wall in the bedroom. And we started doing this, but while doing this, everything becomes really untidy, and you also try to declutter a bit and maybe throw away some stuff that you don't need. And in order to do that, I was going through some old magazines, and in one of them I found, it was like a men magazine, and I found this photo session of a green car in front of a red rusty hangar doors, and I loved it so much. Everything I really wanted at this point was just to sit down and recreate this in 3D. Of course, we needed to first finish switching rooms and give the kids a place to play. But first thing after that was I actually sat down and recreated this, and I never regretted it. So I understand the urge to see something which doesn't really have to do with ArtViz or with your regular work, and just feeling like recreating it and enjoying the process of it. Now, and also it's a fantastic scene to reproduce, I gotta say. It's wonderful to, so this is the original, this is the reference, and this is your clay model, a wonderful one. I even used it for our latest, from last Friday, work in progress initiative message. And this is your final outcome. It's a great project to recharge your creative batteries as an artist, but also to exercise your skills. And I think you did a really good job. And the final result actually looks really, really familiar to the original reference, which is great. The highlight to me here, however, is actually the modeling, because let's take a look at the clay model once again. I love the attention to detail on this work, and I also love the way you managed to fuse the tree and the man-made structure of the tree house and this platform and the swing construction together in a very organic way. It feels like this tree house is actually a part of this tree, and this goes for all the other elements. And yeah, all of this has made for a really, really convincing and very cool looking final outcome. In terms of improvement, I already told you this, but let's repeat it once again. There is this lack of consistency between the fore and the background. If you take a look at the original, you see how we have the same color in the fore, the same green in the fore and the background. It's just a darker shade of the same green, and there is even a gradient down here for a smoother transition. Whereas in your case, the foreground is green and the background has a bluish tint on it, which leads to this lack of tonal harmony. So just try to fit the background more to the green of the foreground, and I think it will be better. And one tip, if we once again go back to the original reference, you will see how there is this weathering at the bottom of the house. The wood is gray here. The reason for this is, if you try to analyze it, you see how you have an overhanging pitched roof, and this overhanging roof is partially sheltering the facade from weathering. So even if the rain falls sideways, the better parts of the facade are actually already sheltered, but the bottom parts aren't, and this is where the weathering happens because it's just not protected. It's an area not protected by the roof. So to simulate that weathering, all you need to do is use a distance map with a desaturated version of your material plus a noise mask so that it looks more natural, and it will be better. This is not a mistake necessarily, it will just improve the realism of your work. But apart from this is one really, really cool exercise, Mohsen. It was a joy to view and to review. Let me check the comments. Michael has sent a reference for the lighting. I gotta show you this because this is important. Take a look at this, and I'll take a look at his work. You see the reference? It's definitely there. This is why it's important to know more than just renders and follow more than just pages that share renders. Watch for photography, watch for paintings, for artists, for sculptures. Go to galleries. Open your eyes when you're out there. Open your eyes. Take photos. Take your own photos. It doesn't necessarily have to be something done with professional equipment. Just with your smartphone. Take a photo. Take a look at the lighting. And then gather all of those images in a folder with references. And when you need them, let them be there so that you can refer back to them, as Michael did here. Thanks for sharing this one, by the way. So let's move on to the third word that we want to talk about. It's called A Quiet Place, and it's done by Saifeddine. This time I didn't butcher your name, I hope. So he writes, happy to share this work in the group. This is an old render, but I'd love to hear your feedback. Yesterday I attended Theodore's live session, which motivated me to post and be more active here. What I love about 3D is the ability to create a custom image that reflects what we feel inside. A Quiet Place is the title of this project. It's done in 3ds Max and Corona Renderer. So, once again, great description, really nice project info about the background, about the software that you have used, and it's also lovely to hear that the show inspired you to be more active. This is one of its purposes. Technically, the image is also very nicely pulled off. The dock looks amazing, so does the landscape, by the way. Is it full CGI? I really have a hard time figuring it out because there are multiple ways to go. You can achieve something similar with an HDRI. There are really multiple ways to go here. You can do it also with AI. So gladly tell us in the comments, because in the beginning of the show I saw you there. I hope you're still there. The arrow perspective is also wonderful. We have this wonderful feeling of depth because of it. Materials, color scheme are really nicely done, really harmonious. The highlight to me here, however, is the whole scene itself. Because this truly actually seems like a quiet place, a place of self-reflection, of inner peace, a place where people go to actually enjoy the beauty of nature to the max. Even though, as I told you, nowadays a place like this would be anything else than quiet, because behind the camera we have a million influencers waiting in line to take a photo like this in order to then go back to social media and upload it with a shitty motivational quote. But let's forget about this for a minute. Back to your image. I also really love the color play, because you decided to give the deck and the person the warm tones, and the code palette for the surrounding, which once again can be seen a bit in a metaphoric way, with the dog and person symbolizing human's life, and the cold nature symbolizing the challenges we face as people. Saifeddine says, the small bridge, the lacquer, I don't know this word, boards are modeled, the background on the horizon is matte painting. Okay, whatever works for you. It worked flawlessly, so great to know. Anyway, back to the metaphorical way of seeing your work, because you talk about it in your description about 3D being able to reflect what we feel inside. First time I saw it, I immediately got an association with a song by The Doors called People Are Strange. I don't know if you know the lyrics, but they go something like, people are strange when you're a stranger, faces look ugly when you're unknown. And I mean, this is the thing that I felt here. This is also going to be the first and last time I sing in this show. But it's a simple song, so I thought I'd give it a try. But this is what I feel here. You know, if you're foreign to something, if you're new to something, everything around you easily seems hostile or at least strange. And this is what this image depicts to me, and I really, really love it for that. Now, in terms of improvement, we already talked about this. The swan is kind of distracting to me, and its illumination doesn't really suit the scene, because it has some direct sunlight on it, but the sunlight is otherwise nowhere to be seen in the scene. So my suggestion is just to remove it. And when it comes to the depicted season, it's a bit inconsistent, because the deck and the person definitely look like autumn, but the background doesn't really have a trace of it. It's like, you know, I know most of these are fir trees, they don't change color in the autumn, but still, I think the autumn should also be visible in the back as well. So just when you do the matte painting, try to remain faithful to nature's laws as well. But despite these small topics, this is a very impactful scene that I really, really enjoy. And I'm looking forward to seeing more of your work in this group in future, Saifeddine. Okay, I know I shouldn't have sung a song because now everybody's making fun of it. Okay, let me see. Simon says, a new career for Argvis Rockstart. Yeah, I grew up with this song, man. Danushka says, wow, we got to hear you sing. Yeah, this will be the last time. Okay, yeah, you can make fun of me. I have no issue with it. I enjoy it because it's a wonderful mood in this community. Okay, let's continue with something different. We have the next project is probably a bit of a surprise one, but once again, an outdoor and exterior concept. It's the Yacht Club by Tilina. And now Tilina he writes my latest architectural concept for the Yacht Club, 3D model and visuals made with SketchUp and V-Ray 6. And let's take a closer look at this image. Now, Tilina is a master of concepting and depicting organic, nature-inspired architectural designs. And we've talked about some of his works in the past in this show, but as the major idea and approach for his work is always fairly similar. It's extracting the major features from a natural element, being it a plant or an animal, and then turning it into functional organic architecture. We don't talk about his work way too often because the works, even though they always have a different background, look very similar, have, you know, a bit of a generic green surroundings to them. However, in recent times, it seems that Tilina goes for more urbanesque types of projects, and I absolutely love this because you know, if somebody's doing something good, and it's not only about 3D artists, if somebody's doing something good, and people start expecting them to keep doing that, and well, this is okay. You can profit a lot from something like this. This also has a backside or a dark side, a negative side, whatever you want to call it. Because I'll give you an example. Because we're keeping it realistic here. It's a laid back show. It's not something so serious. So let's take an example coming from music and having to do with guitars. It fits in this case very nicely. Johnny Mitchell and Jimi Hendrix were close friends, and as Jimi Hendrix died, Johnny Mitchell was of course very sad, but one of the main reasons for her to be this sad wasn't his demise, it was actually the way he lived. And why is this? It's because Jimi Hendrix, as you know, this is probably the best guitar player in the world. So everybody loved the way he played, and everybody expected him and wanted him to play the guitar in a very skillful and masterful way. However, this is not what he wanted. He wanted to actually do the type of music where his skills with the guitar wouldn't have been prominent at all, where a mediocre guitar player could have done the same as he wanted to do. And of course, the audience, the fans, didn't want to let him do it. They wanted to enjoy his masterful playing. And everything resulted in Jimi Hendrix dying unhappy because he wasn't able to do what he actually felt like doing. And this is what made his friend so sad. And I absolutely understand it. So Tilina, is doing, once again, is a master of concepting those organic forms, but maybe at some point he just wants a change. And it's great to see that he actually goes for that change, and I fully support him in this. Let me check the comments once again. Simon says, and this is the building where we can have our Arvis music band camp. Yeah, this would be awesome. I would love to hang out in a building like this. It truly fits the purpose, and I'd love to have a drink there. I'd love to have a walk there. I'd love to listen to some music there, or go on a boat tour or boat trip starting on this dock. Saifeddine says, I'm truly delighted to share my work with this wonderful community. It's always exciting to connect with like-minded people, exchange ideas, and receive valuable feedbacks. Then you're absolutely in the right group for this. Saifeddine, thanks for sharing. Amir says, say now inside himself, okay, have fun, and I'll delete you off from the group. Yeah, and I won't be removing you because you have fun with me singing. I'm not a dictator. I'm not misusing the power I have in this community. I try to use it for our own profit and gains. Anyway, let's talk about Tilina's work a bit more. So I think we all seem to agree on this. It's a lovely concept, a guitar turned into a yacht club. And also, live music is actually pretty typical for such clubs. You can have a corner where a band is playing some jazz or soft rock or something like this. And I think that the general form really fits the purpose. Another great aspect of this work is the lighting, because we have blue hour, which makes for a lovely contrast to all the artificial lighting, which we have a lot of, and it just makes the image a pleasure to look at. The highlight to me here, however, is how lively the whole scene is. There is so much going on here. So you see parts of the city in the back, and then you see tons of people doing different activities, like being at dining, enjoying the views, riding jet ski, having an evening walk on the dock, taking photos, going on a tour with a boat. It just makes the scene relatable. It feels like you could be one of those people, and that's awesome. Now, in terms of improvements, I have some constructive criticism here. First of all, the jet skis. They're problematic for me for two reasons. First of all, those two look like they're speeding towards the dock, which kind of looks like there will be an immediate crash, and this makes the scene kind of not so pleasant to look at. And the second thing is that jet skis are generally very, very loud. So if you imagine you're one of those people who want to enjoy a pleasant evening by the sea, and sit here, and then you have all the madmen with their jet ski riding around, I don't think you have a good time. The second thing is the seafloor. I don't think it looks very convincing, because it needs more variation. Like you need smaller stones, maybe some seaweed, and I also think that the water needs to be less transparent also. Now, regarding the architecture and statics, maybe let's go back to the first shot. Now, this guitar neck here, it looks awesome. It's a kind of a roof or a shelter for the main part of the dock. However, such a cantilever arm without support wouldn't work in terms of statics. So you need some columns here, or maybe you need some steel, whatever, ropes or something like a bridge to hold this back. Maybe you can use the guitar strings for that, I don't know, but the way it is depicted, it wouldn't work in real life. And the second thing are those doors here, which once you open them, you just fall into the water. This doesn't really make a lot of sense in terms of architectural design. And once again, there is some issue with either your glass refraction or your geometry, but it makes for some really weird looking artifacts, so you need to take care of this. But I think that in the end of the day, an image like this or a work like this is more about the concept, rather about photorealistic visualization. And I think that the concept, once again, is wonderful because, as I said in the beginning, I would love to spend some of my free time at this location. I see Amit on tour, but still providing feedback. He says, in this guitar house, we all campus guys can meet up and you can sing Theo. Yeah, okay. And we all can dance on your tune, and we can also make Tom join us with his band collection at his home. Yeah, Tom is the one to make music for us. I'll be one in the audience, just drinking. Kanchana says, a hand holding the fretboard as a structural support would be awesome. Oh yeah, this is a good one. A hand holding the guitar neck, this would be a really cool solution and addition to your concept eventually. Think about it. Good one, Kanchana. And by the way, good to have you here, because the next scene we'll be talking about is going to be exactly your work. It's, I would call it a nameless scene, because you didn't write anything else than 3ds Max and Corona. But you explained something about this work in the comments, so let's jump right in and take a closer look at this. And it's actually a very cool scene. Looks really natural, looks organic, and also down to earth. It looks like something that you might encounter while on a hike. You just hike along and see this one and think, oh, looks nice. And also the depicted nature looks pretty believable, pretty authentic as well. I very much enjoyed the great natural framing that you achieved here. It looks really authentic and makes for a very good composition as well. The lighting is really pleasant. It has a very positive and sunny vibe to it. You can, especially in combination with the depicted season, you can see it's probably something like early autumn or something like this. And you know, this is around 21, 22 degrees centigrade. And for me, this is the absolute perfect weather because it's neither cold nor hot. You can absolutely enjoy it for any type of activity, being it sports, hiking, playing with the kids, whatever it is, it's great. You don't need to apologize, Kanchana. Just in future, make sure to tell us more about your work, about the background of it, about the software combination, the workflow, the challenges you faced even. Remember, in our community, talking about challenges or issues isn't something negative. Because let's say we had from the previous show, we had Abe talking about a challenge he faced while rendering, and he also shared the way he overcame that challenge. And this is something that everybody in this community profits from. So don't hesitate to talk about topics like this as well in future. Estella says, I told the same thing. I assume, Estella, you're referring to Kanchana's idea about the hand holding the fretboard. I also love it very, very much. Okay, let's continue with Kanchana's work. The highlight, actually, in this work for me is that you actually only created it to test the new forest pack. And I find this really inspiring, to be honest with you, because the same way painter will test their new brushes with a new painting, a 3D artist tests a new tool or an update of a tool with a new scene. It makes a lot of sense, and I actually love it a lot. Kanchana says, I was just watching tutorials on i2 and wasn't expecting such result. I just got so excited and wanted to share it. This is awesome. This is lovely, because this shows the artist part of us. You know, we're not just machines turning CAD plans into renders. We are artists, 3D artists. And, you know, getting very involved into something that you're doing and investing maybe more time that you initially thought you would be investing or planned. It makes so much sense, because this is what an artist soul does. And this is why I decided to share your project. In the end, I said that you shouldn't be leaving it at this only one shot, because a one shot is a gallery image, unless it's one shot like Michael's here, okay? But in the regular case, if you have only one shot, it's more of a gallery image. While if you have two or more shots, it's a bit of a portfolio project then, and I think it's better this way. So I wanted to suggest a solution to add one or two additional cams, which you did in the meantime. I'll show them right now, but here I wanted to show you a similar project of mine, also an autumn scene I did just out of excitement and nothing else. On a previous day, I was on a walk, on an autumn walk with my kids, and I just enjoyed it so much, so I decided to try and reproduce the impact this walk had on me without, you know, a clear reference. The reference were a few photos that I have taken on a previous day, and the feeling that I still had in me from this walk with my daughters. And this is how I created this scene. But obviously, to not leave it as only one image, I decided to just zoom in on a part of it. I didn't add anything else. I just zoomed in on a part of it, and then I made a close-up of the close-up with the last shot. And so I now have a portfolio project instead of just one single gallery image. Now back to your work. I'm very happy you decided to do the same. You even uploaded the additional image, and here they are. The first one, this one here, this is a valid one for sure, but it's pretty close to the original one, so I think you should be choosing between one of those two in the end. The next one, however, this is a bit of like a close-up. I really like this one. I really enjoy the framing of it with the tree. It's very, very nice. Only thing I would suggest for you to do is to add more detail, some grouts and more detail in general to those steps leading into the garden. And the final one from the side is also very cool. However, here we have a bit of an issue. It becomes visible that those fallen leaves are hovering above the grass. You need to put them down on the z-axis a bit. But apart from this, I'm very happy to see that you decided to go for some further shots. And once again, what you can gladly do in order to make this session more excitement is to go for different FOVs and different zoom levels, okay? Because if you keep rotating the camera around the house, it becomes kind of monotonous. Even though you show different parts of it, it seems like it's always the same. Try to do more something like this, where you see how the scale is changing with every next shot. So we have the global shot, and then we have a part of the global shot, and then we have a part of the part. So every next level is zooming in and is different, which makes the whole session more dynamic. Okay, I think we're through with the inspiring projects. Let me check the comments, and there is nothing new there. Okay, so I think it's time for us to discuss our topic for the day. Okay, let me show myself once again. So the topic for today, folks, is a bit of maybe something where that people don't like so much talking about. The truth is, not every project we get to work on is this fancy, expensive, lush, modern villa with a pool, or, you know, a fascinating contemporary museum designed by a star architect, or the most marvelous piece of furniture or product design that we get to visualize. Even popular studios like Mir, it's written in their book, have projects they don't feel like sharing or showing because they didn't turn the way they wanted to, or because the starting situation couldn't make for something which looks nice in the end. Those shots that I'm talking about, I like to refer to as money projects. As, let's say, opposing to prestige or exposure projects. In an ideal scenario, a project you work on is both. It's a money and exposure project. But sometimes it's simply one of both. It's either exposure or a prestige project where you don't get so much money, but you get to work for, let's say, a prominent client. Or most of the times it's a money project where, the situation and everything just doesn't look that great, and you just get the money and then move on. Now, don't get me wrong, there is nothing wrong with money projects because they put food on the table, and this is very necessary for all of us to, continue living. But still, they don't contribute to our portfolio. This doesn't mean we shouldn't be putting all our effort and giving our best with the money project. It's just that once we finish it, we move on. However, what the topic for today is that money projects aren't always necessarily a lost cause, because sometimes all they need is a bit more time and effort put into them, and that would be enough to actually turn them into exposure projects. And I want to show you an example for such a project with a recent work of mine. So I will share my screen again. Give me a second just to prepare what I want to show you. And then we can start talking. Here we go. I'll open the chat once again and we're good to go. Okay, so what you see here is a photo of an Umspannwerk. It's the German word for substation. If you don't know what a substation is, you know how power plants produce high voltage electricity. The thing is though, private homes and businesses mostly cannot do anything with that high voltage electricity. So we need substations in order to convert the high voltage electricity into lower voltages that then can be distributed to homes and businesses. And this is exactly what this is. It's a substation. And this one here is getting an extension on the side with the windows. And that needed to be visualized, and I was tasked with this. Now, location-wise, substations usually aren't placed in the most prominent parts of town. It makes sense. They're neither especially pretty to look at. They need a lot of space. And this is why they're usually put in the suburbs. And in this particular case, they're in the suburbs of the suburbs. So you can see it yourself. It's a very heterogenic urban structure that we have to deal with here. We have the substation, we have some company headquarters with a greenhouse, whatever this is, I still haven't figured it out. We have this small village type branch of a bank. We have a park deck in the back. We have a big street intersection in the front. The buildings pretty cramped together. The architectural styles are all over the place. Nothing really fits together. Maybe these two a bit, but only partially. If you take a look at the windows, they're already quite different, very modernistic or kind of old school. Then we have this awful, very unwanted contrast by the end of the image with this dark facade with a white window on it. Honestly, this architect needs to just give up their license. And then we have almost no greenery. We have very dominant street infrastructure. So we can conclude pretty is really something else. And I gotta say, the moment I saw this and I knew what I had to do, I thought to myself, okay, this is going to be a money project. Unless I manage to convince the client to do things my way. So next I'll show you what the client wanted. They wanted a clean, sunny day scene with the object of interest being nicely visible, pretty accurate surroundings, pretty much the same angle that you see here. So here it is. Everything they wanted is there. Clean, sunny day scene, object of interest visible, accurate surroundings, nice composition with a lamp balancing everything out. It's okay. It's a clean, nicely done job. But the image feels more informational rather than emotional. It doesn't have a wow effect. It's nicely done. You can zoom in a lot. You can see even the boats holding down the corrugated metal panels and everything. Everyone who knows this situation and has seen it once in their life will immediately recognize it and know, oh, okay, this is the substation and this is the extension to it. But this is not an image with a wow effect. So here, there are two options. The one option for me was to just, deliver this and say, okay, here you go, give me my money, bye. The other option was to try and invest a bit more time and have a bit of a risk on my side and try to propose something different. The thing is, though, proposing just with words most of the times doesn't work. You just say, yeah, what about the different whatever, and they're like, nah, that's okay. So what I did in this particular case is I invested a bit more time during the project and then proposed to them a second image, the image that I wanted. So let me check the comments and I'll show you. Estella says, this is a subject that my partner are dealing with, coming to the conclusion that for the portfolio, we will not be able to use most of the images we take, thus having to manage time to create images that we really love. Yes, and this is what I'm trying to show you here, because this is something which is pretty common in our field, and I don't think this is exclusive to you or me, or I think most of the artists have experienced this already. So this is why I'm showing you this today, because I think that there is a solution for this. Mariana says, wow, this is a very challenging one. Well, yeah, it is. I mean, it was difficult to make, and yeah, but Estella continues, maybe use the work, deliver, and after that take the project and change everything. What I did here is a bit of a mix of both. So while the project was ongoing, I was working on this one, but on the side, I was also working on a different version that I wanted to convince the client to also invest in. And this was the version that was done the way I think an image like this should look like. Once again, it's not something pretty, it's a damn substation. Nobody says, oh, you're pretty like a substation, right? It's a technical building, and this particular one isn't especially cool because the side is kind of modernistic with the corrugated metal and the front is kind of old school, like an old industrial building, but the mix isn't really that great, to be honest. But sometimes we have to work what we get. Still, we can try to make the best out of it. So what did I do? As I told you, I was working on the main version they wanted, this one, but I was also working on a different version on the side. Danushka says, I feel like you struck a nerve here. Well, yeah, this is something that happens to lots of artists, and this is why I decided to make it a topic for today's show. So, long story short, you see the image they wanted. Let me show the image I wanted. This is it. It's the exact same situation, just in the evening. However, the substation and extension this time really stick out. You immediately know what the whole thing is about. I show less surroundings. The ugly building with the unwanted tonal contrast with the black and white facade is gone. I wanted to be able to use more advanced techniques. Triangles. Take a look at this. You see the reds? Up here, here, and here. You have a triangle, which makes for a very nice composition. Tonal contrast, we have dark surroundings versus bright building. Color contrast, we have the bluish sky, which kind of gives everything around in the surrounding a blue and a coldish hue. And then we have the warmly lit facade for a contrast. We have motion blur for more dynamic. We have reflections to better blend the building and its surroundings. And then you see, as I suggested this one, they were like, okay, you win. So sometimes you gotta be, how should I put it? What's the word? You gotta be bold. You gotta be like, okay, you don't want it? Are you sure? Because it could look like this. And then they see it and they're like, oh, you know what? I want it. So, and this is what happened here. Afterwards, this is what Estella says. Afterwards, I actually continued working on this and made further versions because I wanted to furtherly experiment with more unusual angles like this one, for example, because to them it was very important to show this stupid intersection. So here it is, but seen from a car. Because this is an image which is way more unique than this one. It shows the same. You even see the lamp, right? You see the lamp, you see the small island, you see the intersection, you see the surrounding buildings, but in a way more interesting way. And this is an image that sticks out. It's a unique image that remains in people's heads, whereas the first one isn't really the case, right? And finally, I also wanted to also emphasize the architecture, so I did this one as well. Because why not? And you might say, oh, a shooting star. This is real kitsch, right? And it's certainly not everyone's cup of tea. I agree here. But first of all, I think, once again, it makes the image more unique. And secondly, it is part of my composition. Let me show you why. We'll go over here, we'll paste the image, then we'll try to... You see this? The golden spiral. And you see how it unfolds, and you see why the shooting star is where it is. Oh, sorry, you don't see the way it is. I should have done it here. Come on. So, sorry. I hope you see it now. You see? So this is why I decided to continue working on this project. A part of it I managed to do while working on it. The other two images that I've just shown you are images that I made afterwards. But what I have now, let's take a look at the final outcome. Suddenly, the money project actually turned into a prestige and an exposure one, because I see your wow and amazing and great. Thank you very much for this. And I also managed to sell an additional image, which turned my money project into a more money project. So why I'm showing you this is just to inspire you to not give up on your work too early, but also not come and share it immediately. Share it when it's done. Share it when it has turned into an exposure or a prestige project, not before that. There is no obligation to just finish a project that you yourself aren't very happy with and then just throw it out there for everyone to see, because you gain nothing out of it. If the project is finished, if you're not happy with it, but you see potential, then rework it and turn it into a project. Because I didn't change anything here. It's the one and the same building. I just gave it a different look, but it is so much better now. And yeah, sometimes a few more hours can make for a really, really huge difference. And so Estella, what you and your partner can do is, when you finish a project and it didn't turn out the way you wanted it, maybe because of your clients, maybe because of the lack of time, maybe because you weren't able to pull off what you aimed at, then if you see potential in this project, because let's be honest, some money projects don't have much potential. You can just, discard them and move on, take your money and just close this chapter. Others, however, have the potential. It's just that for some reason you couldn't make it to live up to that potential. In those cases, I really recommend going back, reworking this, and then adding it to your portfolio, because in the end of the day, this is still a commercial project. So when you add it to your portfolio, it's still a project that you can say you have worked on for a certain client. Because if you only do reproductions or some things in your free time, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you share them, they have no legitness because there is no client connected to them. This is the thing. I'll check the comments because I see Amit and Estella have written something. Amit says, I agree with you, Theo, but sometimes what happens is the client asks for some more images like the one you showed. And when we feel is better than the client's version of or brief and he doesn't pay extra, we do this out of our good faith and goodwill, and he takes undue advantage of it. Well, if somebody, I know that, I understand this, and but I gotta say, this saying, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. If you know this and you let people take advantage of you, then it doesn't look good on your side. I'm sorry for saying this, but this is how I see this. So, like, if you have a good client and the client, you work greatly, and you can rely on them, they can rely on you, and you give them. This is also something that I'm doing. I'm often giving a second image, a close-up or something as a gift if I'm happy with the way the client and I work together. So yeah, in this case, I'm showing my goodwill. I'm showing that I'm thankful for the good collaboration and stuff. But if the client just takes advantage of me, they'll be getting nothing, and I'll kick them out. Or I prefer doing something entirely different as a job instead of getting used. This is just my opinion on the topic. Estella says, it's like a slap in the face, and I'm so happy to see it, because now we realize that we are free to create something amazing with a project that seems so boring. Yes, you are, because the clients pay for that one image that you deliver to them, or many images, whatever, but the model and all of the other things belong to you. So if you decide to make further images, there is nothing wrong with that. And many very large and popular studios do this. They deliver the images in a way they are not satisfied with for whatever reason, and then they go back and rework them until they get a satisfactory outcome, and this is what they then share within their portfolios, websites, and so on. So this is what I would recommend to all of you too. This is why I wanted to show this work of mine, and for us to talk about this topic, because I know this is something a lot of us experience. And I know it's also about putting food on the table, dear Amit. I know it's not like you guys, everyone who has experienced something like what you describe is just because you're stupid. You're not. It's actually sad that there are people out there who take advantage of kind-hearted people like you. It's sad, but unfortunately this is reality, this is life, and I think we should deal with such people. I've had big clients that I have kicked out of my services, even though I also depended on them, because they started behaving like assholes with me, and my integrity and my self-respect have priority over this. And I'm the type of person who goes like, yeah, I love 3D. I generally really like what I'm doing here. But honestly, if the situation is like this, I will prefer to do something entirely else, even, filling up the shelves in a supermarket, rather than, or washing dishes, rather than, being the fool people take advantage of. That's just me though. Anyway, let me see the comments. I see Danushka has written something. What if we have many variations and me personally like a certain version, but they went with something else? Well, you cannot force clients. You can try to convince them. You can share an image like I did here in this particular case, and hope that they love them all, and they love the new image or the version, and they go with it. But in the end of the day, it's their decision, and I think it's part of the respect to the client to respect their decision. So if you have a version that you think is way better in terms of whatever composition, lighting, and everything else, but they prefer a different version, in the end of the day, as a person of service, you also need to give them what they pay for. But then when it comes to adding the project or the images to your portfolio, this is where you can go with the images that you prefer. So this is the silver lining in this particular case. I hope this answers your question, dear Danushka. Oh, and congrats for being a winner once again. Okay, I think that must be probably enough for today. Wang says, those are amazing tips, life and work changers. If this helps you, this will make me really, really happy. Because, this is not a talk show. We don't have a topic every time, but sometimes I experience stuff and then think about you guys and think that you may also profit from at least my thoughts and my point of view on a certain topic. And even if you don't agree with this, and you really don't have to, this may lead you to think about this topic and see what you consider right or wrong in particular cases. And I wanted to give you this example here because, sometimes it's just a few hours, but they make a huge difference. Danushka says, yeah, thank you so much, Theo. Amit says, same here. So I have left some clients for this case who were very good clients, but as hosts were paying money. Yeah, unfortunately, this is something we all have to deal with. Mariana says the best way is not to show versions you don't like when possible. Yeah, this is of course great, but sometimes, like in this particular case, this is what client wants, this is what I want. I show it. If they say no, then so be it. Mario says, love you so much, Theo. This is why I sing, right? Estella says, the class changed everything, even being so obvious. Thank you so much. You're very, very, very welcome. Okay, folks. I think, okay, maybe I should show you the contenders for best image of the last few days or 2 weeks before we part ways. So let me get them here. We'll start with Ehsan's interior. I really like this one. It's very clean. He has listened. He has put an exterior on the outside. I really appreciate this. And this is really a very nice and clean, nicely done work. Next, we have John's walk-in closet. I think it's a very interesting situation. It's like, this is obviously something really luxury given that we have a private elevator in the back, but I really like this one and its color scheme as well. Next, we have Kanchana's four-spec exterior, test exterior, whatever you want to call it. I really enjoy this image. Next, we have Maiko's Road to the Peak. Obviously, we had to include this one. It's amazing. And finally, Molham's voted project, which is also very strong on the atmospheric side and also really nicely done. So this would be it, actually, folks. Oh, sorry, this was the wrong button. It's time to wrap it up for today. Let me just check the comments once again. You were amazing, folks. It was such a pleasure to hang out with you today because you were so active and we were communicating the whole time. I know this makes the shows longer. Actually, input-wise or content-wise, the show could have been just 1 hour long, but I absolutely love when we communicate so much because, once again, we're not some algorithms or robots. We are actual people. We're artists. We have our souls and our thoughts, and it's great that we have the opportunity to share them with each other during the show. Don't forget to watch the Chaos Campus live show tomorrow with Joanna and the next episode of the Arfis Masterclass on Thursday. And then in the end of the month, March 31st, we'll have the first episode of the Portfolio Review Show with Pedro Moreira. This will be also amazing, I'm sure. And yeah, by the way, with the 50th episode of Keeping It Realistic approaching, I wanted to make a survey and ask you guys if you want what do you want us to do for this episode? Do you want us to have a guest, like a special guest for the show, or do you prefer that some of us will get to hang out together, like maybe 5-6 people I could invite from the group and we can hang out together for the 50th episode? I'll make a survey on this, and whatever you decide, we can then implement. I'm happy with both solutions, but I'm definitely looking forward to this. Michael says, have a good evening. Constantino says, hey, Theo, have a great evening. Well, nice to see you in the end of the show. You can watch the recording, but it was a pleasure to see you. Amit says, have a party with some of you guys. This would be nice. I mean, obviously, we can only have a limited number of people live in the show, but yeah, we can do that as well. We'll make a survey and see what you guys prefer. Mariana says, thank you for the great session, Theo. You're very, very welcome. It was a real pleasure. And have a great rest of the month, folks. Stay safe, be healthy. And I hope to see you again on April 1st. Let's see how this will go. Until then, it is how it is. Rock on, keep it real. Much love, and bye, my friends. Ciao, ciao. It was a pleasure.